Howdy, folks. Welcome to another episode of the Reseller Niche podcast. I kind of thought I'd do an impromptu solds. I've never done one of those before. I have some like 10 or 15 solds, eBay and Amazon mixed, and I wanted to see if I could go through them before they were shipped, because I know a lot of people will show the eBay page or the Amazon page to show the actual items. And I actually have a kind of a decent cross section for once, not boring stuff that might be interesting to you guys. Oh, I just want to say, hey, Lone Star Picker, Louie, how's it going, man? Yes, this is live right now. I didn't really advertise it or anything, but I'd go on and kind of go through what I'm doing right now. Let's see here. So first of all, let me pull up my solds really fast on eBay. And I seem to have, I think, 14 of them here right now. And let's get started. And I'm actually going to put the link up just in case anyone wants to jump on with me. You can, if you're, I just put that up there if anyone's interested. And wow. Okay, so first things first. This is an interesting one. I'll start with the boring one first. And I hope everyone's nice, crisp morning here in Sacramento. Yeah, lurking is awesome. Thanks, Louie. So first of all, this is a sweater that I'm going to show you. Nice and boring. I've had this for, I want to say 3.5 years, 2.5 years, somewhere in between there. Supposedly, is it Jahan Barnes? I don't know how to pronounce that. Jhane. Jahan. I don't know how. So I remember back in the day, I would always look for stuff that was made in Hong Kong as opposed to made in China, especially when it came to action figures and clothing, because that would denote that it was maybe possibly made pre-1997. Not always the case. I found out later, actually, because there's still a lot of stuff made in Hong Kong. But that was one of the first things I thought that I learned. And this was a sweater that I probably picked up for $2.99, $1.99. I used to go to a lot of sales, discount sales. I hated clothing at the beginning. I didn't do any. So when I first started, I'd only pick up stuff that was dirt cheap. I'm talking about 50 cents to $3, somewhere in there. Actually, that's still basically what I pick up stuff for, or I try to. For a while, I got a little bit higher in there, but only if it's something super expensive. So this one right here, it only sold for $20 shipped, actually just under $19.99 shipped. So that's including the shipping. The shipping is about 50% of that. Well, maybe a little bit less. So nothing fancy there, but I'm glad this is out of my inventory. 3 years is way too long for something like this. So let me toss that over there. Next thing, let's go through. I'm trying to mix these up so they're not all grouped together. Because I don't know about you, I lock my inventory together, even when I do my packaging. So I'll package all the shirts, all the figures, all the video games, all together. So let's see here. I'm going to grab something else. This is a weird one. This is, oh wait, you can't even see that. See if I can get focused here. It's playing cards, Elvis playing cards, all new. What's it say? The best of Elvis playing cards. They're sealed. I used to pick these up quite a bit. And actually, recently I saw a video from the auction professor. He picks up a lot of this kind of stuff, and you should check him out. He's got some awesome videos on all kinds of different things. I won't say what because there's too many different things he talks about. So I'd only be talking about a little bit, but I picked this up for probably $0.25. The reason I say probably $0.25 is because it was in a bag with 8 to 10 of them, and it was like a couple dollars. So It might have even been more like 15 of them. And they had airline playing cards. It had, I'm trying to think here. This was a long time ago. I think there were a couple other musicians and this Elvis one. So I don't know, 25 cents to 50 cents. This one sold for I think $9.99 shipped. What is it? Yeah, $9.99 shipped. So, and it weighs maybe 3 or 4 ounces, something like that. So that's an easy one. But I just thought it was cool because it's still sealed, and let's see if there's a year on here. I don't know. For anyone that's, you know, in listening on the podcast, this is a blue sealed box of Elvis playing cards. And so I'm not trying not to pull up the description, sorry, the eBay page, because anyone listening on the podcast can't hear. Can't see. They can hear, I would hope. So hopefully this is helpful for you too. Yep. Weird is good, especially when you move stuff out quickly. That's right. Yeah, totally, Louie. He's a knowledgeable. Yeah, he really, really is a knowledgeable guy. I don't know why I didn't watch his channel before. Pretty much everything the auction professor puts up is different, which I don't see in a lot. I see that in a lot of channels, but his channel seems to be geared towards constantly showing you different things, which is cool. So anyways, let's move on to the next. The next one, something I enjoy more, and these are not unbelievably expensive versions. This is a G.I. Joe. Focus in here. You can see that. This guy, this is it's nothing fancy, not that vintage. 1990 Ambush Concealment Specialist. So he is pretty cool. This went for $10 shipped. No, this is $14.99 shipped. Actually, I picked up several lots of action figures. So as I started going back into action figures and toys this year, being more at home this year, and I figured, you know what, go back into what you are interested in. So with this and similar figures, I picked up, I want to say 4 or 5 lots, probably about 500 total figures. Average buy cost when I, put in tax and shipping and everything was about $3 a figure, I would say, maybe a little bit shy of that. The only reason for it to be that was because there's some figures in there that are actually worth a lot more. So I generally sell these between, sometimes on the low end, $10, and then they go up to, I've sold loose G.I. Joes for $40 or $50 before. I think I had one on the show, like there's some really, really cool ones, especially they did in the late 80s to early 90s. They started replicating like all kinds of things. Like it had, who was it? Who's from the Chicago Bears? I put it on my Instagram. The Fridge, William Perry, if anyone remembers that, from the Chicago Bears. That, if you find him loose with nothing on it, even beaten up, I'll go for 25 to 35, depending on how many are online at the time. I think mine went right in between there, 25 or $30, something like that. So look up for William Perry if you can. It's about the size 3 and 3/4 inch figures. So that's something to look out for. So that one, I sell these, I want to say once every 2 days, I sell a new G.I. Joe, or I also have a huge lot of Star Wars figures and a huge lot of Marvel figures. The Marvel ones, I need to put a disclaimer in there. When I'm talking about this side, they're bigger than this. They're probably 4-inch Marvel. I wish I'd brought one in here with me. They don't sell as fast, just so you know. They're the early Toy Biz, I want to say 1992, 3, 4, before they started making like the bigger, more defined figures. Those ones do not move as fast. It's kind of weird with the Toy Biz ones. The older they are doesn't necessarily mean they sell the fastest. The fastest ones that I have found that sell, when it comes, I'm going off tangent here, for Marvel, I guess that'd be Toy Biz action figures. Well, the ones with, they're probably about 6 inches. They came in a nice thick plastic. They were blanking on the name. Marvel Legends.
but not like the newer Marvel Legends. Marvel Legends from, I want to say like 2000, early 2000s, 2002, 3 to 2008. That series right there, or maybe it's 2 series, those sell the best, at least in my opinion. And you see them online probably for, I'm guessing, you know, sealed 30, 40, 50 bucks. And some of the nicer characters, the rarer characters, go for hundreds if they're sealed. So look up for Marvel Legends. And remember, there's lots of different types of Marvel Legends. So you want to look out for the early to mid 2000s ones. Those are the best, but a lot of the other ones are good too. Okay, so moving on. I also had some Amazon sales. Most of my Amazon stuff is not here now. I sent most of it, which was video games, into FBA about 3 to 4 weeks ago, so I have very few left. This is one, just a straggler that I picked up probably a week ago or 2 weeks ago. Just a basic Wii game. I think it sold for $18.99 shipped. You know, it still has the sticker on the back of it. Actually, you can tell where this came from. You should be able to tell what store that came from. Right there, it's a used video game. So that one was, I like video games. I don't know about you guys, but I don't even know that much about them. I just played a little bit as a kid, and they sell constantly, nonstop. So, okay, let's move on. Okay, so this is another thing that people don't. Let's see, grab this over here. Back to clothing. This clothing is something I always say I don't want to do anymore, and it is always still there for me. Wait, this is one, did I already? Oh, I think this is one that hasn't been paid for yet. That's why I can't. I pulled this one out of the wrong pile. This one hasn't been paid for. It sold for 24 bucks shipped. Okay, so this is Adidas vest. I like vests. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can see the logo at the bottom there. Anyways, vests are cool because they're generally light. A lot of times, I don't know if this one's kind of heavy actually, but usually they can go for under a pound. I mean, you can ship them first class. They're not very big. You see this. So worst case scenarios are padded flat, at least before padded flats were cheap, which are not anymore. So if it's under a pound, it's a great buy. Usually the people avoid tank tops and vests for some reason. I pick them up all the time. They are slightly slower sellers unless there's a good brand. This is Adidas, which is a so-so brand, not the best. But I would pick up vests if you see them for under $3, under $2, something like that. Just as good as a t-shirt, other than the fact that it will sit for a little bit longer. And people pay up for them. And, you know, you got multiple types of, I think I did a video on vests, I don't know. But, you know, you got your suit and tie type vest, your formal vest, and you got this kind of, I guess this is a sporty type vest. It feels like, you know, material, that all weather material. So that one was 24 bucks shipped. I sell vests constantly year round. You know, that's not a very warm piece of clothing, and it's what, December 7th. So that's sold now. Where is it going to? That is going to, let's see, what's Rhode Island. So it's a lot colder in Rhode Island than it is here in California, but it's sold. So vests, t-shirts, tank tops go year round for me, at least in the US. I'm not sure, maybe not in other countries, but here in the US, I sell them nonstop. So that's just one thing to think about. Don't overlook vests. And one thing I noticed with vests, the side thing, and tank tops is tank tops and vests, they're always put at the edge of the racks. If you go to a thrift store, they usually, for whatever reason, so they're really easy to pick because you see them in the first minute you walk up to a rack. The first, they put them on the t-shirts, the tank tops will be right there at the beginning of the rack. And for vests, they may be mixed in the middle, but generally they're on the
outside, so you can look through them really fast, and there's usually not that many of them because even thrift stores don't really treat them like anything, but they're usually cheap, like 99 cents, 1.99, maybe 2.99 if it's some kind of brand they've heard of. So don't overlook them. Okay, so what's next? Okay, so here is, I picked this up. This is a Chap May, what was the thing? This is actually new, like relatively new. This was, oh yeah, Animal Planet Jungle Treehouse playset. It was ex Toys R Us promoted toy. And it's made by Chap May. Chap May makes a lot of these types of toys. Let me close this. One of those hit me in the face. Chap May makes a lot of these types of toys. They are similar. I mean, they're known for making G.I. Joe type toys, similar to Leonard. Obviously, Hasbro's G.I. Joe. This right here, this is a thrift store at the bottom of a rack. It still had, you can see that, whoever this lady is right here is still attached. I'm not even sure if it's 100%. I pick these up whenever I see them. This one sold for, including shipping, $57.11. $39.99 was the actual cost. Where is this going to? This is going to Connecticut. Why is, yeah. Okay, I might give them a shipping discount piece. That seems awfully high. It might be because of the size. I'm guessing the size. So $57.11 for this, including shipping, like I said. But don't sleep on Chap May. And you can always see, it will always say it somewhere. This room is badly lighted. The sun is hitting me in the eye, so I can't see the insignia. But nearly always, action figures that you can, even if you can't see, feel, and then you can feel where it will say either the company name of the year or both. So you can find that out. I always pick up these Chap May, Leonard, Hasbro, some of my favorite brands. Okay, so moving on to the next one. We've got, what do we have next? Okay, so another thing, this is why I thought this weekend was a good cross-section, because it's kind of a cross-section of basically everything I sell, nearly everything that I sell in bulk at least. This is just a plain, boring, I don't know if you can see this. It's just, what's the brand? Calvin Klein Golf, which, nothing fancy, but it's the shirt that I'm trying to talk about here. This is not a this is, I guess, I don't know what they call it, athletic wear, you know, Under Armour, Nike, dry fit type clothing. I sell a ton of that. I probably have hundreds of it in my inventory. I sell a lot of Under Armour, a lot of Nike dry fit, a lot of, they all have dry something other, dry fit, dry pro, dry this, dry that. This is Calvin Klein, like this Calvin Klein sport performance, all this kind of stuff. If you can pick this up for like $1, maybe $2 at most, to be honest, $2 is way too much. I would say 50 cents to $1. That's what I do. I pick them up in bulk. They will sit forever, but you will sell them for 15, 20, 25. Vineyard Yards still sells this type of stuff, and if I get that, that flies out the door too for 20, 25 bucks used. I'm talking about used. This is not new. This is used. This sold for $31.90. It was a $1 buy, maybe. I'm not even sure because it was a bulk buy, something like that. It might have been less. So active wear, it will sit and it will take up space, and you probably won't, it's not going to fly off the shelf that week. I mean, you could be talking about 6 months, 9 months. This one I listed about a month ago, so it sold pretty fast. Long sleeves usually sell faster. If there's something like this says golf on the sleeve somewhere, I think it does. So that's probably why it sells faster. You can see, if you read this down, what's upside down. But anyways, it says golf on the sleeve, so people like that more. Year round too. It's not even, I sell the t-shirt form more than that because I have more of it. Not interesting, boring. I guess that would be what you call my bread and butter type stuff.
I have hundreds and hundreds of those. Even the shorts, the socks, all that kind of stuff. I just get it. It's dirt cheap and sell it. So, anyways, enough of that. I wouldn't spend more than $2 on that though. If anything, $1.50, $1, because otherwise you're gonna get people offering you $9.99 for that kind of thing. You can sell that at 50 cents, but at $2, $3, I mean, you're pushing it. So okay, so what's next? Next, I have another video game. This one I picked up with that last one. It's Harry Potter, nothing fancy. People love anything Connect, right there, Connect. I sell the Connect, the Boring Adventure Connect. I don't know if you've seen it, it's sealed. I get it all the time for like $1 or $2, and it will sell for like $10, $9.99, $10 on FBA. You make next to nothing, but the rank is like 2,000 or something like that. And then anything Connect sells, especially now with COVID, people are indoors, and anyone that has that Connect thingy, it seems to sell. And there's all kinds of different. I've seen Disney Connect, I've seen whatever Connect, all kinds of them. And this is an old game. Xbox 360 is not new, but this was 99 cents, and it sold for, what is it going for? $11.99. Nothing fancy. So this is going on Amazon, merchant fulfilled. With a little bit left of the stuff that I have. I'm still building up to an FBA shipment. So nothing fancy, but pick up Connect stuff if you can find it. Okay, let's see, what else is there? Okay, another one, G.I. Joe Storm Shadow. And this is, what year is this? This is another one from some of those lots I picked. This is a new one. This is 2004. Still basically looks similar to the 1990 G.I. Joe. Yeah, same exact size. They're using the same molds. They re-upped. G.I. Joe re-upped, obviously, in the early 2000s when they started doing those or promoting the new movies. And it was just kind of interesting the way they did that. And I still pick them up all the time. Hey, Louie, you still there? I can't hear you. Okay. Can't quite hear you there. Okay, so this guy, like I said, this is $10 shipped, nothing fancy. I probably have $1.50 to $2 into this guy, maybe. Hopefully not $3. That wouldn't be good, but I don't think so. But I sell these all the time, every 1 to 2 days. I enjoy listing those, actually. I think that's more than anything. All right, so let's go into something else that I'll talk about a little bit. I really, really, really enjoy picking up, if you can see this, baseball pennant flags, baseball pennant type flags. And they don't have to be, as you can see here, it's Crater Lake National Park from Oregon. This is a pennant. 30 inches is usually standard. Even has writing on the back. I don't know if you can see that. Can't see that. July 4th, 1982. I pick up pennants whenever I can. No worries, Louie. So, I like pennants. I pick them up whenever I can. They're easy to store, they're easy to ship as well. I should do a video on how I ship them. And what I do with these generally, to be honest, is I ship them flat. USPS changed to dimensional weight, obviously, about a year ago. So before, it didn't matter about the dimensions. This weighs next to nothing, a few ounces.
and you could like tennis rackets and that type of stuff. You could send USPS, and didn't matter how big it was, as long as it wasn't up, I don't know, 30, 40 inches. This is 30 inches. I used to ship them flat, but now if I do that, you get charged. It has to go priority now, or depending on where it's going to, you can use like pirate ship or something. But anyways, I sandwich this basically. I will put cardboard above and below it, and then I will put that within another box that's not open up. So it's a flat box. And then, so basically the cardboard on the inside is going to help it not bend. But big do not bend in black felt tip or black marker or whatever I can. But if you see these things, you do need to watch out for the bottom, the edges there. You see this? Those can easily get bent and torn. And second thing is, these are a lot of times made of kind of felt wool type material. They would get wet, especially this time of year. So I usually try and bag them too. So just get you can get 2 plastic bags, or you can get a garbage bag or whatever. Sandwich it in 2 pieces of cardboard, and then ship it flat. Priority. Always charge shipping for something like this. Unfortunately, you can't ship it free anymore. But these sit for a while. I pick them up for like 50 cents, $1 maybe. This one sold for, what is it? Vintage Crater Lake National Park, Oregon. $30.52 shipped. So that's what this is. I enjoy them. Easy to store as well. You just store them flat. I just have a whole shelf for pennants, and I just like looking at them. Just old vintage, very cool. At least for me. You guys might find them boring. I find them interesting to look at. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to this again, just since it's still fresh in my mind. This is an example. I do have an example of what I usually sell, clothing-wise. Nothing fancy. This is just a Under Armour shirt. Let's see right there. Just a basic Under Armour shirt. It's got some logo on the front, IMG Academy. Under Armour, they always have different logos on the front. So you've got like, similar to North Face, Patagonia. You can sell those with company names and other things on the front, and people are okay with it. This Under Armour has dropped in price big time in the last 2 years, I want to say. You used to be able to get $15-20 for these. Now it's closer to 15. For a nicer one, you get $10 for something like this. This one I sold for $12.84 shipped. I have like 50 cents into this. And because I have, like I said, hundreds of these. Under Armour is probably the #1 brand that I have. I just have so many of them. I don't really go out looking for them. They just come in lots. They're in the lots that I have. They just come with them. A quarter, 50 cents. It's probably what I have. I don't even know what I have in this. Not much at all. But I know it's going to sell eventually. But I lock these up if they sit for too long. You lot them up by color, by size, and people will pick them up. If you put 5 blue XL Under Armour base layer shirts, people will buy them. People love base layer. You can wear these in summer, winter, obviously for working out, going to gym, running, hiking, but also underneath your clothes in the colder weather. People like that too, because obviously you're sweating there too. That's the point of these. It's supposed to, like, you hear things like vapor wick, fly this, dry that. It's all the same stuff. And it's never going away. It's kind of plastic in the shirt. So anyways, what's next? I'm nearly done here, actually. Okay, so here's a kind of, I guess, a semi-cool one, if I have a cool one. This right here, this is, open this up. We got a lot of action figures here, but these are like Japanese style, Godzilla style figures. And there is a new Godzilla movie coming out, and I picked these up last summer. maybe the late summer, I think. And I got some other ones too, like I don't know the names. I'm not a big Godzilla fan. This one is called, what is this guy's name? This is Toho Company Gigan action figure, 6.5 inches with mini Gigan. Godzilla Kaiju Monster, so Gigan. I hope I labeled that correctly, because I don't know the names of these, but just look them up. Godzilla rated. There's a movie coming out, and this is the mini one right here. It's not focusing. That's okay. This sold for $67.92 shipped. $49.99 of that was the actual buy cost. Sat for a while, like I said, probably 6 months, I'm guessing. Summertime, I bought it, and there's like a spider one that I have. There's some other kind of insect one I have, and I have like the main Godzilla one as well. It was a lot that I bought for about $30, I think, for all 6, 8 of those, and I've sold half of it so far. I think the rest of it's gonna go. I'm going well above the $30 that I spent on that, though. I love buying those old lots of multiple things, especially action figures. They're just cool to look up and search and figure out what they are for. And let's see. And I have one last thing I was going to show you guys. What is it? Oh, okay. Here it is. Back to it's another thing that I like. This is another vintage Pennant. I love picking these up. I don't know if I got it with that last one. I don't think so. This is a mini Pennant. This is probably 18 inches long. It's kind of harder. You can feel that it's kind of like a more brittle one, and it still has these things at the end. I don't know what they're called. I got half of this lot that I got. Hey, Louie, how's it going?
I got my phone to charge up a little bit. Keep going, man. I'll listen in.
This is the last one I actually got. This right here, I love pennants, baseball pennants. I don't know, flags, whatever you want to call them. This right here.
That was a good one because it's not just like it falls under, you can like list as baseball pennants because whether they like baseball or not. But Harrah's is a casino. Yep. And that's also like a tourist thing with the cars. You can list under cars.
Yeah, that's an awesome tip right there. I mean, that's not just doubling up, that's quadrupling up or whatever you're going to call it. Quad listing. You got the casinos. People love ex-casino stuff.
My dad brought me to that place there where the cars are when we were kids in the 80s. I'm just going to fix my phone.
Oh, you actually went to this?
And I know where that is. It's like there's a car. Go to the tip of where the vehicles are. Yeah, that's like a car. They have a car collector there back in the 80s. I don't know if the place still existed as a museum. And this guy had hundreds and hundreds of like model cars. Like, I mean, sports cars.
I love this all kind of stuff. Anyone that's listening on podcast, this is a pennant. It's probably about 18 inches long. It says Harrah's Automobile Collection. Yep. And I wanted to say here before I go any further, this is Louie, Lone Star Picker. You guys need to check him out on YouTube if you haven't already.
Thank you.
Oh, no problem. And then so this one, what I liked about this is exactly what you said. 50 different things you can list on this. It's got all the cars. It's got the years. And it's even
also those people that like blasting colors, like if they're just using it for decor, like they got a nice shop or something, stuff like that's awesome. Like, you know, if you got like a garage, that would look good in a garage. You know, it's a good conversation piece, you know. And
I don't know what it is with pennants. Maybe it's the same with stamps. People always write the years on them. I don't know if you can see that. You can even see they always write the year on the back.
It's a generational thing. Like I think pre-80s, pre-70s, my grandma would always say, like, write the year on. I'm like, what? You know, like
my mom books. She'll always write, sorry, to from mom, you know, 1982, whatever. I'm like, okay, that's the only
good because it falls under the category of ephemera. Ephemera does that. A lot of anybody that collects ephemera, which is stamps, cards, paper, anything paper that's, you know, it's over time, like even pennants too, like will like deteriorate if you don't take care of them. But if you put the date on it, you know, you can like go, oh, that's from.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. This one says August 27th, 76.
Oh, that's cool. See, pre 80s, dude.
Yeah, I love this kind of stuff. I have a stack of this, probably maybe 100 pennants from everything, not just sports ones.
You seem like a history guy. Like you seem to like really enjoy. Like I heard you saying earlier, you were talking about like I don't know. I find this stuff interesting, but you know, and it's because I think you know what visuals can be about aesthetics, but also like in the realm of like sales and marketing, it's all about like eye-catchy stuff. That's why T-shirts are so popping right now. Like people, I think the kids of today, like you know, that are not even just barely born in the 90s are hunting that stuff down because it's just so exaggerated. It's just like eye-popping, catching. And when's the last time you saw really cool stuff like that, except for like with toys and stuff in the 80s? You know, we loved it because everything was just like, oh my God, it's so exaggerated, you know, whether it's the text, the font, the packaging, I mean, just the subject matter, let alone, you know, like you got these crazy, colorful toys, you know, people kind of like are drawn to that, I think, you know.
I think so too. And then the only thing that worries me a little bit, I mean, I shouldn't make things cheaper, but with 3D printing and 3D screening and all they're doing, I had a bunch of these 90s T-shirts that somebody bought. And I noticed they're all from either Thailand, they were being bought at, or Japan. And they, I hate to say this, I'm not trying to stereotype, but they'll get bought up and that they're looking for that logo. If that print is not out, and then they'll take it and they'll screen print it, and now that logo is in their whatever they use to reproduce.
Their collection of
And then that comes out as like, if you look at, that's why vintage T-shirts, you got to be very, very careful. I'm not an expert at all.
I'll play the devil's advocate. I do agree with you to some extent because, like, I heard the people in the T-shirt realm are really frustrated in it, and they're like, anytime you see somebody on whatever platform, like eBay or something, they'll say, if you guy from Southeast Asia, and usually it's like Thailand or something like that, they're like, don't sell it to them. And I'm like, what's the deal? And you know, and it's funny because most of the time they try to get it lowball because it costs them crazy amounts, you know, to ship it. But I had people on Depop like from that area, and they're always trying to get my like literally the vintage. But I do want to play the devil's advocate. I think there is kind of a trend that they're picking up on that from America. We love our vintage stuff, whether it's toys, this, that. But T-shirts are like the hip trend. So like if you're gonna be the cool kid, there was these guys at the Goodwill bins, and they were like, all they really wanted was like 75% of it was T-shirts. But there was this one guy, I watched him, and he was a T-shirt guy too. Like he wouldn't really go for the concert shirts too much unless it was like a classic one. Then you know he's not gonna pass it up. But it had to be authentic. Like it had to be like pre 90s. But then I was like, what are you getting? And he was only after Levi's. Turns out he had a client from Japan. This guy actually shipped him to Japan, and he would bring the big E on the Levi's. That's all this guy wanted. He wanted vintage, the orange tags, or the big E stuff. The better it was. And then if he had like vintage military, they were buying it, and it was actually a collector in Japan that was buying it. And then these kids would like get these vintage shops going like we're doing, like pop-ups and things, and just, you know. So don't necessarily think that they're doing it to modify and trend off of it in a way that they're you know, like stealing our images, but some may. But these guys are like big money guys, you know. So
I'm guessing have you seen Blue Gold, the documentary on jeans?
Somebody told me to watch it, but I just haven't gotten around. Is it for free on YouTube, or is it
I mean, it's old. It's probably like 3-4 years old. It was on Netflix, I think. I can't even remember.
I'll look at it.
Look it up. Even if you can't see the whole thing, you'll get the gist. It's exactly what you're talking about right there. You summed it up in a couple minutes. Exactly that. It's about an American guy. I don't know if he runs a store. He runs like a jean shop. And
it's been going on since people don't know this, but it's been going on since like the 80s. Japanese love the Levi industry.
Big time. And I think it's all because of, you know, I guess the post World War II era shipping of Americana overseas, that kind of thing. So, I mean,
Well, yeah, there is this camaraderie, but growing up in the West Coast, I grew up, and you're there now. You get it. There is a strong tie to specifically Japan, but like a lot of Asian communities.
huge.
So my ex mother-in-law who passed away, God rest her soul, she was from Japan. So
Okay.
of course she married military, and so my daughter's mom is half Japanese, and so I totally get there is this connection, but it's not that so much. It's just the Japanese, like you said, it's a post-war. There's this kind of like where merchandise goes back and forth, but it's also, I think it's a Pacific trend. There's like the tie from the the West Coast of the United States right into the Pacific. I mean, it's a long,
right. Yeah, no, there's a huge tie there, and then I mean, it's sad because Japantown in San Francisco is kind of dwindling a little. It has been for a few years because the population's kind of dropped.
Yeah,
but you can still see some of it. Like you could before find old shops even in Japan with they're kind of doing like buying like
mostly because of gentrification, and also like when the community starts to dwindle. Like I hate to say it, like. If you're Japanese, you can't afford to always necessarily live there because they're, the second, third, fourth generation. There's a term for that. My friend used to tell me he was actually Japanese, and his grandparents, or maybe it was his mom and dad, were in the concentration camps in Cali. Back in the day, and it's like they were just like threw them in there, and it's like wow, like
there's that. They called it. I remember reading that book. Yeah.
There's so much history. Yeah, there's history upon layers, and to me it's like I didn't know. It's like when I moved away and I went to Texas, I was like, what's all this animosity and like anger and prejudice and bigotry against, let alone just Asians, but just like and then I was like, oh my God, I grew up in a very multicultural place in California.
That's it right there. That's it right there. I guess it's like you don't know in a sense, and actually not just with like the jeans you said. Like I don't as much sell them. I don't have any here, but like I forget what they're called, but like the Japanese dolls, and I'm not talking about really dolls as much.
You're talking about toys?
The toys part of it, like I do have some awesome like Japanese. I should have pulled it out. Some Japanese toys, like not even like the kind of precursor to Transformers and all that stuff. But
I got one to show you one day. I'll bring it. I'll show it to you. Like when I lived in California, it was they were called Shogun or something like that. And the guys had like these big horns, and they're die-cast metal and stuff. And I remember my mom and dad bought me 2 new ones. They weren't cheap, but they were only like this big, but I still have them to this day.
Oh yeah, you should hold on to those. I don't know much about that, but like a lot of that stuff goes for crazy money. I mean, ridiculous money. Like I have this box. I don't even know what it is. It's almost like a kit. It's not even, I don't know if it's cardboard or what it is. And I should have pulled it out. I have it listed for like $1,000 because that's what they go for. And I found it randomly at a thrift store for $4.99. I didn't know what it was. I was looking it up, and most of it was in Japanese.
I tell Derek, Fundamentals of Side Hustling, that you interviewed. You guys should keep in touch because I know both of you guys live in the same town, I think.
Yeah,
and
he's not far from me.
I totally get why you guys love toys, but also you guys don't know how good you have it because the West Coast, since I was a little kid in the 70s, the kids that lived behind me were either Japanese or I think these kids were not necessarily. There was a lot of Japanese behind us that were flower growers. My grandmother was a walnut grower, and she did other produce. And it was right across the street from the San Jose Flea Market on Berryessa Road, if you remember.
Yeah.
And now it's like it screws with my mind to think that they just built all over this like pristine soil. But I remember the kids in the bus, they would show me these books. This is back in the late 70s. And I would go crazy. Can I just look at the book? And this book had nothing but Japanese toys. And back then, imagine if you had any of those toys in that book, it's crazy, like you said.
Ridiculous, unbelievably expensive.
Oh God, what's the name of those toys with the cats that they connect to make a bigger figure? What's the name of that series? They're like 5 different.
Oh, you're not talking Power Rangers?
Say again.
Not the Power Rangers. Power Rangers?
No, before Power Rangers, the one from Japan. They got the little cats. Say again.
The GoBots? Let me see. Not Transformers.
it's like pre-transformer, but like these cats come out of like the leg and the cats come out of the arm and it's
Yeah.
crazy. It's like, and she had the metal ones and it became like this big. It was crazy.
All of those kind of because Transformers, I'm not a big Transformers guy at all. That's why I'm blanking on names here. But if you watch any of the documentaries about it, it's kind of a mismatch what we get in America. They already have a lot of stuff in Japan already. And then just, the guys over here just saw, I think it was Hasbro that was running after Mattel at that point. They were losing out to, He-Man and all that. So they wanted something else. And this was huge, or is already established in Japan. So they kind of just took like what they already had there, and then they that's why there's a lot of that transfer between early Japanese and Transformers, the American series that they put out eventually, like 86 or whatever, 85. So you're all of that.
No, we should do a little talk one day. Maybe do a short one and condense it, to build off of it. We can do like maybe like a mini series where we do like once every 2 weeks or once a month or something, but talk about it from a sales and marketing perspective. And so I guess what we're talking about is like specifically like when we could talk about the Pacific Coast connection.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be just Japan. It could be just, the Chinese connection to like whatever. Taiwan's a big one. Taiwan and Hong Kong, but Japan specifically, we can talk about toys and Levi. But I think it really comes down to one thing, and it's about the have and the have-nots. Like, oh, that part of the country has those. That's cool. And it could be fashion, aesthetic, marketing, but it really comes down to supply and demand, It's like,
no, you're totally right. Because a lot of the stuff, like you said, pre-1995 changed everything. That's kind of the year that I think internet, I know we had it before then, but it was kind of like AOL made it accessible.
I really think it started before that, but it hit off on 95-ish, mid 90s.
So the reason I say 95 is because anything before that, you notice, I think, is a little bit harder to come by, a little bit not as mass produced. Obviously, other than baseball, you can exclude baseball cards and comic books from that.
Sure.
Other than those two things. But so that's why post 95, once you see the internet and people are actually finding out about this stuff. Oh, wow, that's what that looks like. Oh, wow, I can buy that. I'm in Texas. You're in Portland, Oregon. I can buy that kind of stuff. And it probably wasn't 95, to be honest. It's probably a little bit later on. But like you said, it was earlier that in the sense that.
But we don't really know for sure, the certain trends that were like. It goes from a macrocosm to a microcosm, It's like there's this small couple collectors, and it could be like a zeitgeist. You got a guy in Oregon, but all of a sudden, he's got a cousin that's from the West Coast, but he just hears about it, and he's somewhere in Idaho or whatever, or in Atlanta, and he's just collecting because he likes it, But that's kind of, I think, the curiosity. It's like, I remember in the 80s, even in the 80s, Levi's were in high demand in Japan. Like there was big collectors, but maybe not on the scale it is now.
Yeah. Even in growing up in England, American stuff, you would think, okay, English speaking country, it was harder to come by. It was more, this is pre-cable TV, even in England. A lot of stuff was seen as, wow, that's awesome. We can't get that here.
And see, that's what's funny is because it's usually wow, but it's usually within a certain niche of people, because not every there's probably some kids like, screw that, I'd rather go play soccer or whatever, But me, I was the same way. And the antithesis, Mo, was when I was a kid in the 70s, my best friend Joseph Medina was like, dude, you got to watch the show. And I'm like, what the fuck is it? He's like, it's called Doctor Who. And we wwere watching the Tom Baker Doctor Who in the like late 70s and the 80s.
My brother's favorite, Doctor Who. He's creeped me out. Just a side note, that guy, I thought he was just as creepy as one of the the people chasing after him. Seriously, like beady eyes and kind of like staring at you. And
that was the fun of it, because he was like a science fiction character all of his own, and he had to be, because he was an alien.
Yes, to me, getting off a tangent here, Doctor Who was a phenomenal. It's more than that. It's a huge thing when I was growing up.
That's the Atlantic crossover. So like in America, we got these, like, you got your Pacific Coast like trendy things. So the West Coast kids, you probably were. I don't know, when did you move to California? How 89.
89. I was 2 weeks before 7th grade. I was like just shy of being 12 years old.
Bro, okay, so we got no, I mean we have a little bit of age difference, but I don't know. I think he was starting. And did you move to Sacramento or in the
No. I moved to Sacramento like that's been 2 years now. Wow, but no, I moved straight to the Bay Area, Fremont area.
Then you remember Channel 2, you know,
Yes.
from Oakland. And then
KT.
do you remember on I think it was a U channel, but I think it may have been Channel 2. Do you remember oh God, what was it, the Creature Features guy? And then he had that sci-fi thing. I don't know if he was still going in '89, but like in the early '80s, this guy was awesome. He had 2 channels. One was late night, he played Creature Features. Me and my best friend would stay up late night and watch all the old creepy movies. You know, especially if they were only like a couple of years, they would let them watch, you know, like, oh my God, that came out 2 years ago, you know. But like, I mean, the stuff that cult classics, like we rely on as resellers, like we know that's going to sell because it's a cult, like horror movie sell. And then you got, he had a science fiction show during like, as soon as you came home from school, I don't remember what it was called. It was like Captain something. It was really just, it was a dork. He had these glasses on. He wore it was right at the epitome of like, you know, about 4 or 5 years after Star Wars. So like there was that hype still going.
Yeah,
you know?
I think
And
I know.
it was like, I'll send you a link one day and you're going to go, oh, you know, and it basically it hyping up anything that he can do sci-fi. He'd play like a quick sci-fi after school. And then if there was like a chance for promotion for the station or him or whatever he was doing, Star Wars. He had people coming in dressed up as Star Wars geeks. I mean, you know, and as a kid, you're like, oh my God, you know, there's C-3PO or there's, you know, somebody, you know, coming in. And it's just,
and he's not
really.
You know why he got that right? Because he wasn't far away from Lucas. I mean, I don't know where he is. He's not far though.
Yeah, that's near Modesto. Well,
okay.
Yeah.
I remember watching another side note here on it, the documentary on how they made, was it American Graffiti, and how that was in. It was I think it was made in Modesto or
no, actually they didn't. It was he's from Modesto, but I do remember in the documentary they didn't film it in Modesto, believe it or not.
They weren't able to do it there for whatever.
Or if they did, it was like it was too expensive, and they only did like a few clips. But I've been on the road. It's called, if you ever go past through Modesto, look at it on a map. It's called Paradise Road. It may be, who knows? That could be all built up as like homes right now. But this place was like a place where they drag strip stuff. And I went, oh, I get it. You know, that's American Graffiti that my dad liked because that was his era. But the connection was do you remember when after they did Star Wars Empire and Return of the Jedi, they did the prequels, right?
Yep.
Do you remember the scene? I think it was the first or second one where they're doing the drag racing with young Vader.
Pod racing or whatever they called it. Yeah.
That's American Graffiti.
Right. I never put that together. Okay, that makes perfect sense. That's totally Lucas's childhood right there. I mean, and he has
and Modesto, you know this, even today, this day, I bet you Modesto's still kind of like, just pass through it.
It looks the same. The whole area looks the same. I mean, not to knock Modesto, it's a lovely place. But
think about it from a Star Wars perspective, it's like, I got to get the hell out of this town.
Yeah.
You know? And back in the 70s, I remember when my dad used to bring me through I had an aunt that moved there. I don't know why she moved there from San Jose, but I lived in Turlock, so don't laugh. I lived in Turlock, and that's where I met my daughter's mom. So it's like, I know Modesto, and I went, I get it, Lucas, I get it. But they had this wonderful thing called, I can't remember the name of their main avenue in Modesto. They had this thing called Graffiti Nights in the 80s, and it was fun.
I think it's because they had the room out there to do it as well, and it wasn't as expensive as, I forget where. Yeah, I forget what it was, but anyways, the space that they had out there, and it's so open. It's still kind of open, to be honest. I mean,
they still have farms, right?
I don't want to. I haven't been there in a while. See, look, Derek's saying no, it's not. Modesto and Stockton is trash.
No, we're not talking about Stockton. We're talking about Modesto is still kind of. I don't know. I mean, Modesto always had a bad name. I remember I've gotten into fights there, just minding my own business at a coffee shop, and kids would bored. They wanted to fight. So it's still that mentality of just like it's rugged. It's kind of like the Wild West.
Yeah.
Yes. I love it. Oh, Derek's here. That's cool.
Yeah,
I've opened up the chat real quick.
Louie is there too. Yeah, and Stockton, Modesto. I mean, for me, I just remember Stockton being, I mean, had issues with it, the same type of stuff. The weird thing about Stockton is I remember in '08 they spent a ton of money on like the city hall or whatever and the waterfront. I didn't even know they had water there, but
dude, they were doing that in the '90s. The waterfront, yeah. And back then they were like had two restaurants on top of a pier, like whatever,
That's, I mean, they could be doing a lot better with other stuff there. So yeah, I mean, no, Stockton's because I drive basically through it once a month when I go back to the Bay Area. So it's straight through Stockton every time.
Keep going. You go. I'll go to Manteca to go pee before I stop in Stockton.
Well, Manteca, at least you got I think there's a water park there. I think that's the draw over there. But I went there once in like 1992. But
I remember when Manteca, and that was about the time oh my God, you lived there in '92. I remember that's when it was like, ooh, up and coming, and it's like it was all farmland, and it's still kind of surrounded by farmland, isn't it?
Oh yeah. To be honest, everything, it's funny they call the Bay Area Northern California. It's kind of central if you look at a map.
It's more central, but yeah, I don't know. That's people's misnomer. I think you're right. I'd say I'm with you on that. That's all central. I think Derek would agree.
Yeah. See, Derek, they put lipstick on a pig. It's useless. Yeah.
He goes, oh God, because you went to 13th grade because I went to Delta College for like a year or two, and I was like, I'm out of here. I got to get out.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny though, that whole area. I mean, there's still so much. I could see it, to be honest. Somebody coming in, the developers coming in there, really, because it's still not far from the Bay Area. I think that's what it is. Even Sacramento is 100 miles, give or take, from the Bay Area. That's why they're saying
some people that commute is nothing when they can pay for a house and not pay the $1 million in San Francisco or whatever it is now. It's probably way up.
Yeah.
I remember in the 80s, they're like, oh my God, the first house is like 1.5 million. And we're like, well, get ready for this.
In the 80s, it was 1.5 million? My goodness.
Yeah. Well, there was this one house that sold. It was like a special house. But yeah, it's like crazy. Because like in New York, even in New York, you can pay $100,000 and get a mini condo.
Oh, well, Manhattan's just, they're just the kings of being ridiculous.
But if you think about the square footage, San Francisco is not better.
No, it's not. I think they said it's worse now, especially some parts of it. They're having issues getting people to work at regular places like the Starbucks, grocery stores, regular jobs. Because who can afford to go in and then you have to drive over the Bay Bridge or the Golden? I mean, forget about the Golden Gate Bridge. If you're living on the other side of the Golden Gate Bridge, then you can afford it. But
it's crazy.
If you're like me in the East Bay, there's no way I could afford it.
Yeah.
I don't even know what tolls are now. I mean,
I don't even want to think about what the tolls are, man. I couldn't even. Yeah. And it's people, there's some people, because I mean, the whole, what do you call it? The, excuse me, the whole Silicon Valley, niche that started when I was, and that's why they wanted my grandmother's property in San Jose. I grew up right, my grandmother worked for, I think it was Intel when they started making microchips and stuff back in the 70s and 80s. And
it's all going to change. My personal opinion with California is, if you haven't bought a house yet, don't, because you're going to see everyone moving centrally to where you are or around where you are. Because to be honest, Austin's going to get outpriced, I think.
Dude, can I tell you something? You're that news is old news. There used to. I still feel this animosity. Like people cannot hear that are from Austin. And it's funny is that they're not really from Austin. They got here in the 70s. So there's this saying, we got here as fast as we could. But the people that lived here all their life, they don't like Californians because they'll come here, and especially like in the Bay Area or South, and they'll sell their $900,000 home, and they'll come to Austin. Now you can't do that anymore, but they'll sell and buy 2 to 3 homes. They'll live in one and rent 2.
You have to prove that you live there, I'm guessing, or something like that, or.
I think it's just also the congestion and the rapid rate growth. We don't have the big thing that you hear there is sustainability. There's no places to live that you can afford right now. Like I was paying close to like $700 when I first moved in this apartment. It's a 2-bedroom. It's got a backyard. It is a duplex. All of a sudden one day after 8 years, he knocks on my door and like says, and I'm like, it's my landlord. He goes, I'm sorry. He says, I apologize. He's like, the taxes, because they're gentrifying my area. And I moved here because, as an artist, I always look for the low income areas.
Yeah.
And I can live there. I'm like, as long as I know there's a safe area, this and that, I'm good. Now there's bums under the highway right next to me and this and that. It's crazy. It's just things are out of control. And he comes up there and he raised it like $300, like through, and just.
Do you have rent control in the city of Austin or the state of?
He can come and tomorrow and say, listen, I'll give you 30 days. If you don't want, you can leave, but I'm going to raise it 2,000. He can do that,
I think.
And I got so much stuff here. I would go nuts. It would take me a month just to move the stuff into a storage shed. I would go crazy. I'd probably end up throwing half of it out, but because like some of it's so much free, but like it would be the worst headache. You don't even know.
That's so scary. Like Derek's saying that Topher lives in a tiny studio for $2,800. I think I've seen his videos. I think he lives in this. I'm not sure if it's San Francisco or where, but
I don't know how Topher does that, because I thought Topher lives right down. Like every time he shows his films, like, dude, you're like right down. You're in San Francisco.
It looks like it, right? That's what that's kind of the gist I got.
Because on the outskirts, you still got all those little hills and stuff, but still, dude, that 2,800, dude, that's crazy, Derek. That's crazy, bro. Oh, I couldn't even think of it. But then, the cost of living's different there. Like he's probably got a good job. On top of that, you do need a resale.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I couldn't imagine ever living in San Francisco.
I remember when Sacramento was like, nobody wanted to live there, and we would go there, and it was still kind of considered like it was like an Austin at the time, back in the 80s. And I just remember going, I like, everybody's like, you don't want to move to Sacramento. I'm like, Sacramento is so perfect, but it was kind of like Stockton. It was kind of like, it was on the binge of like, there's drugs and this and that, but on this side of Sacramento, near the river, because that was 99 and 5 going straight up. And then you go into the mountains from there, and it's like, but I loved Sacramento. I used to go to Sacramento a lot. When I used to go there, Tower Records, before they closed.
Oh, I love Tower Records. Oh, he said Derek says he lives in Midtown SF above a store. That sounds unbelievably. Yeah, 2,800. I could see it going up higher than that. He lives in San Francisco, Midtown. Wow.
That makes sense, because that's New York. Live wherever you can live. I don't care if it's in a basement or above a store. Back when I moved there, I was too stupid. I should have jumped on this deal. I lived in a lot of warehouses because I used to be in the arts. And as soon as we'd move in there, 6 months later, they kick us out because they were going to build a condo, or they were going to make these into like luxury apartments, because they saw what the artists were doing. It was hip to do. So all the hipsters would move in. So I was going to move into Chinatown. Nobody wanted to move into Chinatown. It was, and now it's like one of the top places in New York City. It's like you can't buy a place.
They say it's the biggest Chinatown in the world, the one in New York.
Do you want to know why they call it Little Italy, Little Italy?
Why?
Because of big Chinatown. It's funny because like I used to see Chinatown just keep coming, and then pretty soon it's like moving past the border of Little Italy. There's like 2 streets Little Italy, and that's it.
It's funny you say that. I just think when you said that, I thought of the 80s movie, Big Trouble in Little China?
Yeah, that's a good movie. That's fun.
I'm wondering if they got something from that for that title there. I mean, yeah.
I don't know. But that was my saying, because people would kind of go, what do you say? And a lot of people thought I was talking about the movie. And I'm like, no, you're not understanding my point. And then the people in New York would go, you're right. Chinatown is getting, it's almost like there is no Chinatown. Like you go into this area and it's like, yeah, it's almost moving into Wall Street and things like that. It's crazy,
I went there in, I think, 2008 or 2009. I always mix up. Just for vacation. We went there for like a week. And that's what they were saying then. They said basically it's going all the way into Brooklyn. Like we were looking at the new Yankee Stadium. They said basically it goes all the way that way. Yep. It's like the biggest, I forget what he called it, kind of ethnic group.
Demographic, yeah. But here's the thing, is that's just in Manhattan area, bleeding into the other boroughs a little bit. And I'd say bleeding because it is. But if you ever been out to, I lived in Queens last. I lived in Brooklyn. I lived in the Bronx. I lived in Manhattan for a very short period. But I last, because I got the best deal for $700. Even back then, it was crazy. It was this 2-bedroom. We made it a 2-bedroom. It was actually a 1-bedroom, like basement apartment. And I don't know how I managed for $700 a month. Everybody hated me because I was like cheap. And I worked corporate. I did a teaching job at night, and I did that's when I started reselling. And
Right.
the fun thing about it was I didn't know, but somebody goes, "Oh, that's not the biggest Asian community." I'm like, "What?" They go, "Yeah, go out to Flushing." And I'm like, "Flushing and Queens? Dude, every Asian ethnicity you want to go, and like the best food. Like that's where my daughter was born. It was like I loved it because you go out there, like you can have it, because people don't look at Indian as Asian, but that's part of it. It's part of Asia. But like Indian food, you want Laotian, you want Thai food, you want Vietnamese, you want Japanese, Taiwanese, whatever. I mean, oh my God, it was like a smorgasbord heaven. I mean, it's like so much food. I love food.
See, and it's funny that you mentioned that, like in the U.S., because I'm an Indian. So when I grew up in England, when you said Asian, they think you're talking about an Indian person. But when I came here, I said, I remember somebody asking me, are you Asian? I said, yes. And they looked at me and said, no, you're not. And I said, and I had to think about it because I didn't get that yet, what you just said. And then it was just kind of, I don't know, something that happened. Especially 1989 was a fun year.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you get some of that stuff because I talk to people and some people are like, and it's also the East Coast, West Coast connections, and you get it, I don't know. It's just there's so many things. Did you read what Derek said about the origins of Mortal Kombat?
I read let me go back and see that. I clicked on it.
I gotta write something.
Yeah.
Man, I think treasures. Somebody's writing me on
oh wow. I missed it. Yeah, I think he was talking about all the way back. He was talking about when we were talking about the mid 90s. He said it was the late 90s in terms of when those
figures knows this stuff. Yeah.
So yeah. Huh.
I'm sorry, I was just typing somebody wrote me for the show tonight. We have a special guest on our Mindful Merchants today. So
nice.
I'm gonna give 2 giveaways and whatnot. And I got, dude, I messed up. There was probably maybe 20 of these, and I only grabbed maybe 6 or 7 of them. They're not even the good quality ones. They're cheap masks, but they're from Scream 4.
Okay. Well, those are cool though. I mean,
dude, I sold them all, man. You can't see it, but this says number 4 on that. I don't know. Can you see that?
Not really. Oh yeah, I see it. I see it. Yeah.
Yeah, something. It'll say the number 4 under. I think it's supposed to be the letter A. So, but yeah, I've been selling like crazy, and I think 75% of them went to California. I thought, is this like a gang thing?
Yeah. That would be weird. At least
cool. What do you got going on today for you?
For me, I just need to drop off. Yeah, I just posted that for you. I need to drop off stuff at the post office again. Monday is always a big drop, and then
me too. I got to go here in about a few minutes. I got to go run. My drop off is I have the post office still pick it up. My guy's been pretty good, and I gave him his first. I gave him a Starbucks card to say, "Hey, thanks. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving." And
yeah,
because this guy does a lot. I mean, I don't have a lot of packages, but it meant a lot, and it builds that relationship, and he looks out for me. He'll go, "Hey, do you got anything else? I'll come back." And I'm like, "No, I'm good."
Yeah, and then they're legally allowed to take it up to $20, I believe. So anything above that, then I think
I give him I don't have a lot, but I give him $10. It's like for but I'm gonna give him another one in December, kind of say Merry Christmas.
I remember having a conversation with my mail. I've had several mail people over the years, but that's what we used to. What we would do actually is we would have a table, and then when they came in around Christmas time, we just have it ready for them, and we just hand it to them. And then I remember we would get even our mailbox holders would wait sometimes for the carriers, and then if they couldn't, they say, "Hey, you know what? Can you give this to Bob? Can you give this to Jill?" And then yeah. So I mean, I'm not sure if people do that now. Because everyone's more of in a hurry.
But now they were like, "Yeah, I'll give it to them," and they keep it.
Yeah.
No,
but
I don't know.
They did though. I mean, it was I mean, it's not easy work.
Times have changed, but it's really, to me, it's just about being good human, compassionate, and it's yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I better go I got one thing going to Puerto Rico. I got 2 FedEx to drop off, and that means if I go to the FedEx, I can't drop it up at my morning store because the guy would have already come, and it's only a little bit out of the way. And then I stop off at which I have not had luck. Have you stopped off at Five and Below? I still can't find a lot of good stuff out of there.
Five
Do you
and
guys-
Below.
Yeah, do you have those?
I haven't heard of Five and Below actually.
Really? Because I think Luis, or I thought Derek, maybe you guys don't have it in Cali, but there's a store called Five and Below. It's like $5 and below, and it's like a lot of stuff is.
I'm looking at the
No,
store location right now.
I think not Derek. Luis orders online from them, but like to me, it doesn't make value. I guess it depends on the platform.
No, they do. That's an awesome tip. They got one Rancho Cordova, Sacramento, Stockton.
Hear me out. If you order, I think above a certain amount, the shipping's free. So if you can go online and find what you're looking for, just do it that way. Saves you gas. Yeah.
Totally.
There's my tip, guys. I gave it away. I'm gonna get out of here, bro, because I gotta go get this stuff going. And yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I better drop off too and drop these off. But thanks so much for stopping by, and anyone else that's listening. I'm horrible.
Always enjoy talking to you, Mo. I'll catch you later.
All right, take it easy, man.
See ya.
All right, guys, I'm going to take off. So thanks for stopping by. Thanks, Derek, Luis, Leroy, and Louie. I will see you guys later. Maybe I'll do this some of the time this week. Have a good one.